Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Carolina Weather Authority's meteorologist Joshua Nagelberg. I hope you guys are doing well. Let's get right to the tropics. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest videos about Hurricane Zeta. Right now, a tropical storm, but expected to be back to hurricane strength here shortly. Also, we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Carolina WX Authority, with the latest articles and local weather here in the Carolinas, as well as talking tropics. And our own website is carolinawxauthority.com. We do have more of our videos available to you here, as well as weather models and alerts and a long-range outlook. All right, so let's talk about Hurricane Zeta. The storm made landfall late last evening in the Yucatan Peninsula, south of Cozumel and just north of Tulum, an area that has seen already 2 other landfalls in the last month. So getting very tired, I'm sure, of talking about hurricanes hitting the Yucatan. But now the storm has reemerged over water and is in the southern Gulf of Mexico, poised to strengthen here tonight and tomorrow during at least the first half of the day before gradually weakening upon landfall in southeastern Louisiana tomorrow evening. And the only thing that's really going to stop it from strengthening at this point will be cooler waters and increasing wind shear, but unfortunately those don't really kick in until the last couple of hours before landfall. We saw this with Hurricane Delta earlier this month, where the storm had peaked and then slowly weakened and then weakened more significantly over land. The difference with this storm is that it's going to be moving faster and linking up with strong upper level wind flow, so it may not weaken quite as quickly as we'd like to say, and this map is going to show potential impacts all the way up into the Carolinas and into Virginia by Thursday afternoon and evening. So as the storm continues to accelerate, it's going to get enhanced by some fast winds aloft and could produce locally damaging winds in any of these areas. But we do believe the area in red here has the likeliest chance of having hurricane impacts, with wind gusts over 74 miles per hour, power outages, of course, and some wind damage and localized flooding, especially in greater New Orleans, which is already sitting below sea level. Areas in the yellow could have strong enough wind gusts to cause widespread power outages. There could be local severe weather, and at the coast there will be strong enough storm surge to cause some issues up the Mobile Bay and even over to Pensacola. Whereas areas in the green are kind of on the fringe of things, where we could have locally strong wind gusts and maybe localized power outages, not expecting widespread flooding though. Most of those will be right along the track of the storm and into the mountains of North Carolina, the southern mountains of North Carolina. So if you're well inland, you could still have some impacts from this storm, but obviously our greatest concern is for the central Gulf Coast region, including greater New Orleans, where it looks like the eye of the storm is going to move over the metropolitan area tomorrow night. All right, so let's take a look at the overall satellite image, and really Zeta is the one system on the map that sticks out. Everything else looks fairly quiet. We do have a wave back in here that we're going to keep an eye on, that the GFS has tried to develop in the Central Caribbean for several model runs, but it's going to be at least another probably 10 days before we have much to talk about with that, and then things are fairly quiet elsewhere. So this is really the only thing on the map right now, but I don't think we're done quite yet, as November could still see a couple of tropical systems. All right, a closer look right now of the visible satellite shows the storm is definitely weaker than it was this time yesterday, but also wind shear is fairly light, so we do have a favorable spot tonight for redevelopment. The reason the storm is weaker is it ingested just a little bit of dry air, but also it spent almost 12 hours over the Yucatan, which of course weakened the system. However, you can start to see on these last couple of wind frames, tall thunderstorm clouds going up, showing signs of maybe some reorganization here. And waters down in here are still in the low to mid 80s, which support strengthening, and the wind shear is generally 10 miles per hour or less. So we do expect this storm to re-intensify and will likely be a hurricane tonight. This would be, I believe, the 6th Gulf of Mexico hurricane of the year 2020, and the third, it looks like, for Louisiana, making a direct strike with a couple of other storms, Hanna and Sally, that we watched as well. So a very busy season for the Gulf of Mexico, not showing any signs of dying. You can see here on the satellite loop here, definitely not as much concentrated thunderstorm activity near the center. It definitely took a hit. However, the last couple of frames do show some colder cloud tops beginning to spin up on the southern side, and we do think this could spin back up into a Category 1 hurricane this evening, with a small chance that it reaches Category 2 overnight and into the first part of Wednesday, as the water still is quite warm, all the way up to about 26 degrees north. And then after that, I think our storm will peak and probably gradually weaken, although the pressure could still drop a little bit more. Here's the Hurricane Center showing the latest advisory on Zeta, and the winds are at 65 miles per hour, so it has stopped weakening. They're expected to strengthen again. The pressure is holding steady in the mid-980s. Will be expected to drop back into the 970s tonight, and possibly the high 960s before it makes landfall. We're probably looking at a landfall pressure somewhere between about 970 and 980 millibars, but there's a chance it could be a little bit stronger than that in the 960s in the hours leading up to landfall. We do have a hurricane warning in effect for all of southeastern Louisiana, all of coastal Mississippi, and the western half of Alabama, with tropical storm warnings over into parts of western Florida, and a tropical storm watch for south central Louisiana. This does not include the Lake Charles area that's gotten hit twice this season, but does include all the New Orleans area. And a lot of this is for coastal sections, but does include a few of the inland parishes as well of southeastern Louisiana. Parishes such as Jefferson, St. Charles, Plaquemine, Lafourche, Terrebonne, even St. Mary Parish, and as well as St. Tammany, and then across the coastal counties of Mississippi. So you have Hancock, Harrison counties over there, and into southwestern Alabama. Plane has been going through the storm. It is on the way out. We'll have another plane in there tonight. The steering flow right now is going to speed up as our high pressure system aloft over Florida begins to shift east. The upper level trough over the Four Corners region will push east, and that will take the storm north and then northeastward quickly tomorrow and tomorrow night. So this storm is not going to affect Texas in any way, as this trough will certainly push it eastward, but it will accelerate quickly into these westerlies, moving into the mid-Atlantic region by Thursday afternoon and evening. So a very quick moving storm, not going to be much of a rainmaker compared to Delta, compared to Sally, compared to Laura, but will produce briefly very heavy rainfall, which can cause some flooding tomorrow night across the central Gulf Coast states. Wind shear is still fairly low right where the storm is. It will pick up when we get closer to landfall tomorrow evening, but the next 24 hours remain pretty favorable for the storm to strengthen a little bit more. The storm track right now pretty much takes the system over New Orleans. There's a couple of models that kind of spare New Orleans the worst and shift things eastward towards maybe Chalmette or even farther east of that over the Chandeleur Islands and Sound and up to Pascagoula and even Mobile. So there is some chance that New Orleans could be spared the absolute worst, but for the most part, we're looking at pretty much a direct hit on New Orleans, the first one since Hurricanes Cindy and Katrina back in 2005. So we've actually gone 15 years since the last hurricane to officially hit New Orleans, although New Orleans, of course, has had some side effects of storms, and they've had 6 or 7 threats this year that haven't quite panned out for them, but I think the luck runs out this time unless we have a hard right turn just before New Orleans and a track that goes over the Mississippi mouth and into the state of Mississippi and even into Alabama. And that's possible. Models show intensification this afternoon and especially tonight and early tomorrow morning, then leveling off, and then in 36 hours we will have landfall. So of course we'll have weakening to a tropical storm and eventually a tropical depression, although the models have been less on the weakening trend after landfall due to the dynamics of the upper levels. And what this means is that we could have a larger area of wind damage that spreads all the way into the southeast and even the mid-Atlantic region tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but actually on Thursday. We'll take a look here. The European has shifted to the right, and the mean of the models goes right over the western part of New Orleans, actually more like Kenner and Metairie, and going right over Mandeville, Covington, and up towards Hattiesburg, Mississippi. But this has shifted right, as yesterday around this time it was near Lafayette. So definitely seeing agreement in all of our models, which is what we like to see. The GFS parallel from earlier today has a 970 storm going right over New Orleans tomorrow night, whereas the operational takes the storm pretty much in that same direction with a harder right turn over Mississippi and Alabama, and all the heavy rain coming up through Mississippi, through western and central Alabama, northern Georgia, and into the western Carolinas, and eventually even into Virginia. And oh, by the way, behind it with this upper low, we are going to see a potentially significant October snowstorm Friday into Saturday across interior portions of New England, northern Pennsylvania, and New York State. I'm not going to talk about that now, but we can look at it later on. The latest European has landfall point pretty much near the line between Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish with a track right over New Orleans. Not quite as hard a right as some of the other models. We'll, of course, have to see on that, but it's trended to a harder right. The Hwarf model shows landfall tomorrow evening, probably right around 4 or 5 o'clock Central Time over Terrebonne Parish, with a track bringing the heaviest of winds right over greater New Orleans, where winds could gust over 80 knots, which is close to 95 miles per hour. A look at the HMON shows kind of a similar situation where the direct hit comes just southwest of New Orleans, a track near Houma and over Metairie and right over the middle part of St. Tammany Parish, so near between Slidell and Mandeville, of course, and then up in Mississippi. And then the NAM, which isn't really a tropical model, but I am going to show it to you because I think you guys deserve to see what the wind gusts could be. Tonight shows tropical storm force wind gusts possibly getting up to Grand Isle at daybreak. But we'll see the winds picking up later in the day tomorrow around greater New Orleans, and then the potential for tropical storm conditions tomorrow afternoon across the coastal sections of Louisiana, and eventually by evening coastal Mississippi. This is going to be a fast-moving storm, so you may only have hurricane conditions for a couple of hours. But notice how the winds could gust as high as 135 miles per hour on the eastern side of this storm, situated off the coastline of the oil rigs of southern Louisiana, and then 120 mile per hour gusts as the storm makes landfall in Lafourche and Terrebonne Parish. And then as we get into the nighttime hours, this is 8 o'clock Central tomorrow night and 9 o'clock Central, with the potential for 100 mile per hour wind gusts right over the city of New Orleans. This could cause widespread problems for New Orleans, of course, for St. Bernard and parts of Plaquemine Parish as well. And then those hurricane force wind gusts will spread over to Gulfport, Ocean Springs, Biloxi, maybe even Pascagoula and into southern Mississippi just before midnight tomorrow night, as things quickly improve on the backside of things here in New Orleans. Also, we'll have to worry about storm surge near and to the east of the storm center, which includes Lake Pontchartrain, but more Lake Borgne, as well as the Mississippi and Alabama Gulf Coast, with the highest storm surge likely on the western part of Mobile Bay. So Mobile could have coastal flooding. And I am going to zoom out and show you guys wind gusts for the rest of the southeast here, so that you can have an idea of what we're looking at farther inland after this storm makes landfall. Because it's not going to just be Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama that have problems. I think with the wind gusts that we potentially could see here in the southeastern United States. Okay, let me try this one more time. Had it up earlier. All right, so the southeastern United States. We'll take a look again at wind gusts here, and that was the wrong model cycle. I apologize. This is the midday run today. Does show wind gusts in Alabama reaching 50, 60, even 70 miles per hour, including the southern side of Birmingham around 4 in the morning Central Time, 5 Eastern on Thursday. And then even Atlanta could have wind gusts up to 60 or 65 miles per hour, especially the northern side here during the morning rush on Thursday. That could create some very dangerous travel conditions. And then those winds quickly spread into the western Carolinas, and especially the higher elevations north of Greenville, Spartanburg could have wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, maybe even 70 in the mountains before noon on Thursday. And even around greater Charlotte, greater Raleigh, we could have wind gusts over 50 miles per hour for a brief amount of time during the afternoon on Thursday before things calm down. So this system will weaken, but it's not going to weaken that quickly, and this could resemble a situation like we had with Hurricane Michael back in 2018, where the strong winds carry well inland, and we have dangerous travel conditions on Thursday for parts of the southeast and the mid-Atlantic states. Finally, I will show you guys total rainfall from the NAM model as well, and that will give you an idea of what we're expecting rain-wise. And you can see there will be the potential for up to 10 inches of rain south of New Orleans, across Terrebonne, Lafourche, and maybe St. Charles Parish, but then those numbers dwindle. Parts of the mountains, though, you'll have to watch out for localized flash flooding, maybe 6 to 8 inches of rain in some of these mountains. We could see flood watches going up if they already aren't there. But not a whole lot of rain farther east of Charlotte and Raleigh. Most of this rain is going to be the western Carolinas, the northern Georgia mountains, maybe far east Tennessee, southwestern Virginia. All right, folks, that's all I've got for you, but I hope you guys stay safe. We'll keep you posted on any updates that we have. Again, here is a look at our impact map with high impacts over the central Gulf Coast, including New Orleans, medium impacts with power outages possible all the way up into the western Carolinas, and locally strong winds possibly getting to Richmond, Norfolk, Raleigh, and Elizabeth City Thursday afternoon. All right, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Don't forget to hit subscribe to our YouTube channel and post any comments and questions. I'll do my best to answer them. Have a great day, and God bless you.